Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We can see some of the numbers kind of trickling in and everybody coming in. Good morning. I think while we give it maybe another minute or so for all the people who've joined us, please feel free to use our chat. Introduce yourself to us. Let us know where you're coming from. Um, yeah, what are you looking forward to in terms of this conversation? And I think just based on just some of the responses that I've been getting from my email reminder that I sent yesterday, it definitely looks like this is a conversation that is perfectly timed. So please utilize that chat. Yeah, we'd love to know where you're coming from, which companies you represent as well. Okay, while we're waiting for everybody to kind of trickle in, I think we will call it at around maybe just another, yeah, maybe another 2 minutes, 11:03. I think we can be a little bit generous. Is that okay, Gerard? We can be a little bit generous there. Okay. Wow, lovely. We've got Cape Town, Marlins. Lovely. We've got people from all over the country. It's exciting. Okay, another minute to go. If you've just joined us, we are encouraging everyone to just introduce themselves to us. Let us know where you're coming from. Where in the country are you today? But I think most importantly, what are you looking forward to in terms of the conversation that we're having today? Okay, I think we are at the 11 past, 3 minutes past, yeah, 3 minutes past 11. I think we can get started. I think we can get started. I think while everybody else sort of comes in. Um, yeah, so good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's good to just see so many people joining our webinar for today. My name is Jackie Mapala. I am the content producer for Executive Communities. So I have the awesome pleasure of working across all the different communities that we have. We've got CFO South Africa, we've got CHRO South Africa, as well as CIO South Africa. Today, we are having a really groundbreaking webinar that we have titled Revolutionizing Finance Leadership in a Changing World. Now, this is a high impact session that really will challenge your assumptions. It will stretch your thinking and reframe the role of finance leaders in this very fast paced, evolving era. So, gone are the days where CFOs are just simply crunching numbers behind the scenes. Today, finance leaders are stepping boldly into the center of strategy, technology, and transformation. And as finance veterans put it, and I love this particular quote. He said that the modern CFO are no longer just scorekeepers, they are architects of value and co pilots of strategy. And that's exactly what the session is really going to be about. Together, we are going to explore how AI, automation, and next generation tools are no longer just buzzwords. They're becoming the very foundation of how finance functions lead, influence, unlock bold and future facing growth. So I'm excited because we're going to dive into a couple of areas. So how do we cut through inefficiencies using automation? How do we harness AI as your strategic edge? And how do finance professionals move from reactive to revolutionary, and where we are redefining the role from back office to boardroom? So you are definitely in for a treat today. And And I'm so excited because the individual who is joining us, who's going to help us really unpack this, has been defined like this. He is a finance leadership wizard. He is tax savvy visionary and one of the sharpest minds in finance transformation across the continent. I'm talking about none other than Gerard Hartman, who is the Vice President for Medium Business at Sage Africa and Middle East. You're welcome to just, yeah, emojis clap, emoji claps, emoji claps, emoji claps. I'm
Thank
so
you,
excited.
Jackie.
I'm so excited to really delve into this. And you know what Harriet is going to be doing for us? It's just really bringing clarity to complexity. And I mean, a lot of the work really comes into an area of how do we shape how finance team leverage technology, not just to survive, but to lead boldly and thrive. One of his favorite quotes, or at least my favorite quotes that he's sort of shared on some of the other platforms, is where he says that technology doesn't replace finance leadership; it actually reveals its true potential. So please get ready to really rethink about what is possible in terms of your role in finance. Think about how you are going to realign your team with the tools that really matter and really reignite your leadership journey with purpose. So, how Gerard is going to basically unpack today's session is that he will kick things off by setting the stage for us a little bit, drawing back the curtains on the shifting landscape of finance leadership. So, he'll put together a beautiful presentation for us, and then he'll paint a picture of how the CFO role has evolved in this really changing landscape. Thereafter, me and him are going to dig deeper into the engine room of automation, explore how AI can become your compass for strategic foresight, and of course, to chart a course that will move finance from being reactive to revolutionary. So, we're going to have a chat a little bit later. I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, but I think it's also nice to kind of really set the tone around what to expect in terms of today's webinar. And to you as our audience, we encourage you to please tuck in, engage, share your questions, share your thoughts in our chat and in our chat box. And we're also going to be running some poll questions. We've got 3 for you. There's one that I'm going to roll out just before Gerard gets started. And just a little disclaimer, I think it's the first question, the first poll question. There's a repetition there. So please ignore the first option that you sort of need to click on and just look at the other 4 questions at the bottom. So we definitely want to hear from you. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A where you get to also engage with us. Gerard, I think we can get started. And just so that everybody is not surprised, we do have Nick, who is my colleague, and we've got Zoe as well, who is from Sage. I think I forgot one last thing. So we're also running the webinar. We're going to be writing an article around it. So can I kindly ask, so Gerard, just before you start, I definitely want to see all the Colgate smiles from our audience today. Can I kindly ask you, just for the purpose of just being able to capture a group photo of today's webinar, for everybody to please kindly put on your cameras. I think my colleague Sneh, who writes for CFO South Africa, is around to take a quick pic. Um, we'll just give it a sec. So please put on your lovely cameras. Smile, smile. You are going to be on our website. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good. Gerard, Zoe, I think we can move forward with the presentation. Please take it away. Let's get started.
Great. Thank you very much, Jackie. It's really an honor to be here. As you said, we're going to have a very insightful conversation today, and I hope everyone that's joining the session is really gonna gonna get value from what we're going to be discussing. Um, so let's kick it off and let's just start. For those of you, just a brief introduction. I'm Gerard Hartman. I look after our medium seg business within Africa and Middle East. And what does that basically means in just plain terms? I look after our growth which is sales, and then obviously from there, also our retention side of the business. But let's kick it off with the first poll. I see it popped up. So, Jackie, I'm going to ask you to join in. That we quickly run through it and just get some votes. So, what's your biggest challenge in adopting finance technologies like AI? So, there's four options: lack of tech, limited budget, resistance to change, unsure which techs or use case to choose. So let's give it a few seconds just to get those polls in. It's coming up. I see there's still votes coming in. Let's give it a few more seconds just for everyone to participate. And I must say, it's fantastic to see there's so many people. I mean, I looked at just quickly, I caught one person being in Hermanus in the Western Cape. Then I obviously saw there's some or person joining from Namibia, which is one of the neighboring countries, and very, very surprised to see people joining from across Netherlands, etc. So, as I said, I really do hope you enjoy the next couple of minutes. Jackie, we're going to lock it in. So if we quickly look at the results, unsure which stacks or use cases to choose from, that was the biggest contributor, and then limited budget and unclear return on investment. And I think on those two, as we run through the presentation, we're definitely going to see at the end of the day uh, where the influence is coming. And 100%, I mean, not always sure about what's going to happen in the future, not always sure what technology to bring into your organization. But I saw there was a pop-up question just quickly. Will we share the presentation? Yes, it will be made available. As Jackie said, we'll definitely share that. So if we just briefly kick it off and we look at Sage, just to give a bit of background from a Sage perspective, um, if we, and I know there's going to be a little bit of a delay on the slides, but just quickly, who's Sage? We've been in the business for more than 40 years. We're striving to give technology solutions to small and medium businesses, not just on the African continent, but globally in the UKI, North America, Australia, and obviously Central Europe as well. On our payroll side of the business, companies using our software paying more than 20 million globally. And I think what's very important is at the bottom right, where we filed 17 AI patents since 2021, and it shows us our strategic investment to make sure that we bring technology solutions to our customers to make sure that they can trust artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. And that's a very exciting space for us. And today we're going to be speaking obviously about the accounting side of the business, but we're also going to be seeing how that influences into our HR and payroll space as well. From a cloud native solution side, um, I don't think it's anything that you as finance leaders don't know. But when you start the journey of technology, and specifically looking at cloud native type of technology solutions, these are some of the areas that always pops up specifically for CFOs. Because what we've seen, and I'm going to speak about the research studies but just now, but the CFOs, the finance leaders in the organization, are leading from the front to say we need to bring in solutions, we need to automate in our organizations, and they are actually pulling together the different C-suites as well as the business to say this is the journey that you need to go on. So if we look at a cloud native side, I'm just going to quickly speak about security and updates. Very important to understand when you look at solutions, what is the security behind it? What's the redundancies being put into those solutions. As Sage, we're pushing cloud native HR, payroll, and accounting finance solutions into the market. And for us, security is very important. Because you're moving into a cloud native landscape, you're not going to be customizing your solution so much anymore, but you're going to configure those solutions. So, yes, some organizations are going to say, listen, we're very complex, we need that customization. But when you move to cloud solutions, you're going to see that you have one instance of the truth. And why? Because you're going to configure those solutions. And then after that, the security updates and functionality updates is given to everyone within that environment. Um, Also, that's touched on the configurator side. Data redundancy, very important. If something goes wrong, how quickly can you recover and get your business back online? And then also with these solutions, the scalability and the cost of ownership is very important from there. So let's jump into just quickly into our let's speak about the trends that we see. Let's speak about what have we seen from we run a research report. It's called The Secrets of Successful CFOs. And we went to CFOs and finance leaders globally and we asked them, what are the shifts? What are the trends you're seeing from a CFO role side? And what had come out from the report was obviously the CFO is leading the technology shift in their organizations. Um, Also, they are the custodians, and Jackie did allude to that, for strategic leadership, bringing the C suite together, align on what the business strategy is, and consistently adapting to the evolving market. Business is not static, as you know. So, whatever you decide today, you need to make sure that it's relevant into the future. And then also from the research reports, just regarding ethical finance and the sustainability behind the role of the CFO. But I think what's very important, if we look to the other findings that we've seen within the report, is what are the challenges for CFOs, and also future challenges that they see, but also with solutions at the end of the day. So I want to I want to pause on the technology dual role because the CFO and the finance leader always had, um, I want to say, wear the hat of the finance side of the business. But now they're starting to wear the hat of where our company or our organization should go to from a technology side. So that's very important, and that's one of the biggest, I want to say, aspects we saw within the report. But what's equally important, because they're using or they're getting the hat on what is happening on a technology side or wearing that hat, they also need to make sure that the teams that they're managing within their business from a finance side is actually being taken on the journey. So that change management, that learning that needs to come in to say, listen, as the CFO, I understand where the company needs to go to, but does my team actually understand where they need to land and what needs to happen? So that's just another finding that we saw from the report. Then all, if we turn our eye, and again we surveyed within the study, we surveyed 12,000 finance leaders in 9 different countries. And what did we see from a context? And here I'm going to speak to South Africa specifically. Over 1 in 5 leaders in SMBs sees themselves adopting AI, artificial intelligence technologies in the near future, and over half intend to increase their investment in technology in the next 12 months. And that's significant. More than half is saying, listen, we're either starting a journey to bring in new technology into our organization, to be able to automate the process, to be able to get better insights, because that's what they're after. And that for me shows us our robustness within our markets and how our CFOs are leading that from the front. Also, what we see from a changing world and from a CFO perspective, CFOs have diverse responsibilities. We spoke about that just now, but also very important, they are in the driving seat to digitize their business. And over 75% of CFOs said their responsibility for digitization or digital transformation has increased in the last year, which again speaks to leading from the front. And then also the part of transformation through talent. 80% of finance leaders agree that artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning, will have a major impact in these areas in the business: HR, recruitment, and talent management. And again, there you can see the CFO stepping into the world of talent and people as well to direct the organization to see where are we going, and how do we need to prepare our teams for the future. Um, Future proofing finance, it's so important. And for me, it is, how do you create that sustainability? How do you make sure you gear your teams for the tech change that's coming into the future? And 78% of successful finance leaders identified keeping up with new technology. On the automation side, that's critical to their success of how they see it within the next 3 years. Successful finance leaders said that 78% positively impacted their C-suite relationship. Again, I want to pause there just briefly. Is I said it earlier on, the finance leader is the glue to bring the C-suite together, aligning with them of what is the strategic objectives for their organization, and then making sure they use the relevant stakeholders to actually drive that change within the business. And 81% said it allowed me to focus time on more valuable tasks, areas I need to have. So again, once the technology comes into the organization, what's so important is to ensure that they now shift, maybe going from, as Jackie said earlier, on a back office type of relationship to actually driving the strategic success within the organization. Jackie, you must keep me honest on the time because I know we've got a jam-packed agenda going. But I think also just on the stat, um, again, increased use of AI-powered tools. 61% said that they're actually bringing that into the business. And equally important, they're kicking off these projects, digital transformation projects. So again, a favorable response there of 61. So let's look at it. Let's talk a little bit about where do we see artificial intelligence revolutionizing the accounting finance space. And when I speak about artificial intelligence, broad concept, I always include machine learning behind it. And I mean, you can read everything slowly on the slide, but I think for me, um, anomaly detection, very important. So from an auditing side, picking that up, that's where we start putting our investment into, and that's where our I want to say artificial intelligence is being brought into the finance perspective. Very important. Predictive models. So looking forward into the future, um, how can we streamline financial reporting and analysis? And then also areas where I want to say we had manual tasks in the past. So automation, AI-driven automation is specifically on accounts payable, but then also when we look at data imports, equally important. If we then turn our eye just to the HR and payroll space, and again, like I said earlier on, the CFO is driving technology into this area as well. Chatbots to ask certain questions, to get answers, automations, insights within reporting. That's very important for C-suite, and then connecting the HR payroll, the people world with the finance world to make sure we have very automated integrations between the different products. Um, I want to just a stat quickly: state of AI in modern finance. 86% of finance leaders said they've incorporated AI into their operations in some capacity. It's something later on Jackie and I is going to unpack a little bit, just to say, do you agree with the stat or not? But I want to move to just on this, specifically when it comes to artificial intelligence. If you cannot trust the technology, you're not going to use it. And I think very important, that's one of our foundations when we build these solutions. And that's been said by our CTO, Aaron Harris. It doesn't matter how cool the product or the technology is. If customers don't trust it, if the users don't trust it, they won't use it. And I think that's very important when we um, look at technologies. Um, Also, again, when we look at AI in modern finance, there's always two areas: traditional artificial intelligence and generative artificial intelligence. And I think what's important, traditional, look at the data, look at the models, giving you um, insight of the data today. Generative AI gives you insight into predictive analytics, using different technology modules to take your data and predict what's going to happen. But equally, both of them are very important in making sure that you enhance your financial operations and you drive the growth into the organization. Just two areas within the accounting finance space that I see is very important, and then we're gonna jump into the fireside chat of things. AP automation, accounts payable. Again, they're looking at what type of anomalies are happening and how can we automate the process, bring workflows in, bring alerts in, scanning of invoices, automating that process where we see it's always been manual in the past. So we refer to that as AP automation. So what we're after is to automate the process to reduce manual work and errors at the end of the day. Another area, and I'm going to end off with that, and then I'm going to hand to Jackie. The other area is just on an outlier detection side. So when you run your general ledger, when you post transactions to pick up anomalies, is everything 100% correct? And the outlier detector shows you that's what's happening with those anomalies within your general ledger when you do postings, etc. So really cool two examples, if I can call it like that, beneficial to finance leaders to start automating that. And with that, Jackie, I'm going to hand back to you.
Fantastic. That was deeply insightful. Thank you, everyone, for just really sharing your comments in our chat box. Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of comments around, or at least questions around whether Gerard is going to share the presentation with you at the end of this. Gerard, maybe let's just start there, just to kind of clarify that, because we've seen a few comments and questions just around whether you'll be able to share the presentation with them.
100%. Yes, Jackie, and I think there were some questions around can we get the recording as well? So
Yes, yes, yes. So just to also reassure everyone, you will definitely get the recording after this webinar has concluded. It's automatic. So as soon as you've registered, you're definitely going to be sent this recording. So I think let us get into just the meat of today's webinar and just ask you a couple of questions. There are a few areas that I think you've sort of touched on already in your presentation. But Gerard, as we look ahead beyond AI and automation, and we look at things like blockchain, generative AI, or even quantum tech, and how they are playing a bigger role in finance, which one of these emerging technologies do you believe will have the biggest impact on the CFO role over the next 5 to 10 years, and why?
Um, yeah, it's a loaded one. So I think all of the technologies what you've just mentioned will definitely have an impact. But I think if I can pick one, I want to say generative AI. That stands out for me. It's going to have a massive impact on the CFOs, as I said a little bit earlier on. I think what's very important for me there. Why do I say it? Because it's going to give them the capability to do predictive analytics, to look into the future, to model certain scenarios um, at speed, where in the past maybe it was very reactive. So by having that technology of generative AI to be able, like I said, model it, and then also back to C-suite to communicate those insights of what they're saying, these predictive analytics, to all the stakeholders, automation of reporting. So it's a conversation, but like we just saw from everyone asking, oh, can you share the data? Can you share the insights? And that's going to be automated as well. So yes, we're having a conversation around it, but if you go back and you access the data is available for you to see. And then also part of that for me is just looking at manual processes, what you can automate. So for me, in the next 5 to 10 years, generative AI, that's going to be the biggest influencer for the finance space.
Hmm. I think you beautifully touched on this in your presentation, just really around how CFOs now are stepping into the people aspect of their role. Excuse me. And we've just been having really interesting conversations during our awards nomination processes and interviews, where now you're almost hearing this term of a CFO now being a chief value officer. So clearly there is a powerful gear in any business in terms of this cross-functional alignment. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. So, in your view, what role should finance leaders play in building stronger bridges between departments like HR and IT, and how can they drive greater value for their businesses?
Um, in my view, they're uniquely positioned. In what do I mean by that? They position because they already sit with a finance hat within the organization. They're driving this technology hat forward, and they are the I want to say they are the glue actually to combine HR, IT, let's just call it supporting functions. Why? Because they're providing the insights to align on finance goals back into the strategy of the organization. So whether we speak about budgets, whether we speak about workforce planning, um, aligning the view of where we need to get to, that is, I see them as playing a pivotal role in that. And yes, maybe for some finance leaders or CFOs, it's maybe a hard change to do, but that's part of the ask of how the landscape is changing. And then I think the other part of it, because they're the glue, because they bring the C-suite together, is that sharing of insights, sharing of what drives the organizations. How can we make faster, smarter decisions? How can we build these models to react and say, what do we need to change in our business, or what do we need to automate? Um, but I think also what's important, if we take it just a step back and we slow a little bit down, is if there are maybe CFOs or finance leaders that haven't started the journey, in my view, it's never too late. Um, don't try and build this massive project to start automating or bring technology in. I think have a very critical view in your business. Where's an area that's maybe simplistic that you can bring technology in and automate with technology, or give insights with technology? So that's the first thing. Never too late, and decide on a project that you want to kick off. Equally important for me is when you're on this journey, make sure you bring the people along. Bring your teams along. Maybe it's cross-functional teams. Give them the brief. What is the end game? And help them to transition from, I want to say, a non-tech world into a tech world. I saw one of the questions being, will finance leaders maybe have jobs in the near future? So what's my personal view on it? And maybe in 10 years' time, Jackie, we can look back and we can say we were all wrong. But in my view, technology is not going to replace the person. In my view, people investing in themselves to learn technology is going to be replacing people that's not using technology. Um, and and again, I'm gonna take an example. And the Singaporean government decided everyone over 40. So I wish I could have seen everyone on the call, but maybe you can just put up your hand. Everyone over 40, the government actually said, you know what, we want to send all of these individuals on a learning course over 40 to learn about artificial intelligence, because the way that generation is interacting with technology is completely different to how I want to say the upcoming generation, fresh out of varsity, etc., um, is interacting with technology. So just a side story to mention there.
Hmm. I mean, I think I mentioned this also right in the beginning in my intro to say that one of my favorite quotes that you've sort of touched on, and I mean this is I think one of the quotes that yeah you shared I think on one of your many presentations that you do on this particular issue was that technology doesn't replace finance leadership. I think if anything, it reveals its true potential. And I think you've already touched on a little bit on my next question, Gerard, around the fact that CFOs are not all at the same stage in terms of their digital development journey. But I think for practical purposes, I mean, what would you recommend as a first step for a CFO who's saying, I'm only starting this journey? Um, and I think maybe also just allude to what are the dangers of being stagnant, of remaining motionless. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. So if you do not evolve, if you do not revolutionize, if you decide to stick to what you've always known, what are the dangers? What are the risks?
Yeah, so let's start with it. Maybe the dangers and the risk, and then we're saying we're taking bold steps. So dangers, risk, you're getting left behind. Your competitors are investing in technology. They can make faster decisions, adapt their business a lot more quick. Where maybe in your space, if you don't make that shift, you're going to fall behind. I think that's for me the competitive element. Um, Also, again, if you think about attracting talent, if you're a business that's stagnant, are you going to attract top talent? Don't Is that not part of a strategic objective within the business to retain talent and attract top talent? And for me, that moves into the people world, because individuals always want to learn. We always want to make sure we're in the forefront of things. We always want to make sure we stay competitive. It's just natural behaviors. So someone that's stagnant, I think they're going to lose talent, not just talent, but they're also going to see a decline in their business from a profit point of view. If we then swing it around and say, oh, where do I need to start? What do I need to do? What is my first steps? And I think as a CFO, a leader in the organization, step one is to say, what is something in our business we need to fix? Um, Unpack that area with your stakeholders and identify, oh, you know what? We would like to automate process X. I think that's it. When you've identified it, clear communication and inclusion is very important to the different stakeholders that's going to be in, involved in the transition or in the project to automate. Um, and then from there to say, listen, this is our plan. This is how we're going to execute, and take small steps. Don't try and solve the world all at once. Take something simplistic. I firmly believe in experimentation. And when you experiment in your business, when you go onto this journey, you've got two outcomes potentially. The first outcome is of the experiment, it was a success. What we wanted to achieve, our objectives, we did make. The second part of it is not a failure, it's a learning. So, what do we need to do different to see a positive result? So, that training support side of it. Um, and then don't get demotivated if you had, I want to say, a negative result, because you're going to learn from it and you're going to make it better the next time around. That resilience, that let's keep on pushing the boundaries. I think it's very important.
I love that. There's definitely something that can be said around learning to fail fast, but also not obviously being fearful about failure. I think when you're speaking to finance professionals, they're already thinking, yeah, but what about the bottom line? I think
Mm,
experimentation is great, Gerard, but there is a bottom line. We need to be very careful around loss when it comes
mm,
to implementing some of these approaches that you are recommending for
mm,
us to apply in our businesses. And I'm thinking as you're speaking that when the business does decide to take that step or that leap of
mm,
faith, the new systems and tools can be exciting.
mm.
But I think you also touched on this as well around the fact that, change can also be really tough on people as well. And it's important for CFOs to take their people along with them on the journey. So from your perspective, what's the key that, or at least what are the keys that you can give to CFOs in terms of just helping their teams adapt when finance brings in these new techs? What are the practical tips that they can apply in terms of being able to assist their people when new tech comes in?
Definitely learning mindset. So bring your teams, identify the people that you want to bring along on the journey, invest in them because they're going to be the people that's going to evaluate, I want to say, the projects, and they're going to be in the driving seat of making sure the success. So if you leave them behind, obviously you stand the risk of a failed project. Um, Within teams, you've got different dynamics. So, like I said, identify the high or the top talent that actually wants to learn, that wants to invest, that wants to make sure, but don't leave the people behind that's maybe going to take some time to move and mold into the new world. Um, and then for me also what's important is set realistic timelines. Sometimes we our own enemy because we want to push a project through. You said it earlier on, bottom line is always expensive. Is always important, but to the detriment of who? And a lot of times it ends up with the teams actually executing it. And navigate and be that, I want to say, lead from the front as a finance CFO, finance leader in your organization. There's nothing wrong to say, listen, this is a new learning. You're probably going to learn a lot from, I want to call it, younger people in the organization because they have just went through maybe a new learning journey, etc. And there's nothing wrong to learn from each other. I think that's what's making it so powerful for us as humans is we can poke one another and see where our strengths are, and at the end, collectively, we build out that strength. I don't want to start speaking about sports, but I think if you see within the sporting fraternity, why are teams so successful? Because they leverage off each one of the individuals in the team strengths.
I was just looking because I saw a comment in the chat where somebody was like, easy on the pricing there, easy on the pricing there. And I think this is
Mm,
such an important element to incorporate in our conversation, Gerard, because a lot of mid-sized businesses are having to do with less
mm,
due to obviously the persistent economic pressures and challenges
mm,
that they're facing. How can the appropriate technological tool help them to become more resilient and build smarter and more leaner operations?
mm. Yeah, and again, everything has got a price tag to it, and for each organization is different, and each organization what they need to do at the end of the day, I think, is they're going to stay back, but or they're going to try and solve. But when we think about technologies, and again, I want to bring it back. Right technology for your company. What do you want to change? What do you want to automate? Because at the end of the day, if you automate a process, you're going to see efficiency. It's going to reduce a cost and it's going to free up time of someone to spend time or to grow and spend time on something else. And for me, that's that return on investment. And remember, return on investment is not necessarily within 1 year. It could be over multiple years. And the more complex a business is, that return on investment maybe becomes a longer period. So for everyone on the call, when you embark on the journey, I don't need to teach finance leaders. They always look at the bottom line, but that return on investment, um, I want to say, look at hidden costs as well. Costs of individuals not spending their time anymore on capturing data. They can now spend their time on something else, and you're definitely going to see a return. Um, when you bring technology into the organization, think about your current finance team. I'm just going to take an example. Maybe it consists out of 5 people. When you bring technology in, it's not necessary to say, listen, I want to reduce my team to 3 people. You maybe want to use 2 people in a different way, but the technology will automate processes for you. As your business grow, let's say your business doubles in revenue, fantastic. Your finance team is not going to double in heads. So again, where's the areas you can use technology to keep your headcount static and bringing technology for freeing up manual processes, etc. Again, and I think there for me 2 areas stands out. If you go and look at your own business, what's manual? Capturing of data. Why? Why can you not automate that? Challenge the status quo. And then on the flip side of it is when you think about budgets and predictive analytics, etc., what can you do to automate that? What can you do to how much time do you actually spend on reporting? And how can you automate the reporting process within your organization? Um, I'm going to tell a quick story of a customer testimonial. Um, One of our customers, and they're within the non-for-profit space, in decided to go on this technology journey, and they did automation both in the finance side and the HR side. And what did they do? They reduced their month in by, I want to say, 30%. So the time, if it took them 2 days, they reduced the 2 days with 30%. That's a return on investment in the long run. And those are the type of measures that you need to bring in.
Hmm. So,
Integration is something, sorry, Jackie, we didn't
sure.
touch on.
Yeah.
But I think integrations is very important. I just quickly scanned on the side just a few of the chats. Again, automation of integrations. So you've got finance systems, you've got maybe production systems, you've got reporting systems. And at the end of the day, you want those systems to talk to one another. 2 points there. First of all, if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So make sure the data you bring into your systems is 100%, um, I want to say, the correct data. Second to that, integrations. I think there's a lot of potential on integrations, whether it's just API setups through different technologies, but it's key. A lot of the comments are, you know what, we've got disjointed systems. How can we bring things together? Again, there it comes to a partner with someone in the industry. I mean, how our network works is we've got certified business partners that act on our behalf into the market. Interview companies like those and let them help you plan your technology journey, not just for the next year, but for at least take a 5 to 10 year view on it, or 5 to 7 years on it. I know it's a long time, but how do you see your business changing over that time? And then look at specifically how can I bring systems together. That's a massive efficiency. Um, and I think there's an industry that got it right, not to single out a specific industry, but I think the banking sector is doing amazing jobs of integrations into systems, payment platforms, etc.
Fantastic. There was a question I wanted to sort of add in, but I think I'm just looking at the time as well. And I really wanted to incorporate some of the questions that have already been asked, Gerard. So if you can just allow me. So I will just quickly run a poll question while we're going into the questions, but it beautifully touches on what you've been speaking about throughout this whole entire webinar around CFOs really being active enablers of digital innovation within the business strategy. And I think maybe as you're answering some of the questions, you can touch on a little bit on that because there is that triad between the CEO, the CIO, and the CFO. And most of the time, we find that it's the CEO, at least according to your research, that is the one that is regarded as the leading digital strategist within that. So how do we change that? How we flip that a little bit so that
Mm.
the CFO is the one that is now seen as that strategic enabler? So I'll run the poll and also go into the questions. Maybe you can touch on that as I'm doing all my back end stuff. Let me just
Yeah,
run.
I think there's always the debate between the CEO, the CIO, the CFO. Now, who actually owns what, and where do we go? I think that becomes part of C-suite collaboration. The fact that the CFO is leading on the front it shouldn't mean that he's threatening the CIO. I think what's very important is that collaboration between them. The CEO at the end of the day is going to have the final sign off and say, listen, are we going ahead or not? But I think the data or the insights that's being given to the CEO to make an informed decision is coming from the CFO. And maybe I'm touching on a few toes. Maybe there are CIOs in the room. It's really not about is the role important or not. For me, it's about how do you work together? Because what is our common goal as a C-suite or as leaders in our businesses is for the business to grow, is for the business to flourish and make sure we've got great talent, we've got profits. If we listed, our shareholders are happy, and very important, our customers are ecstatic because they are the ones that's actually making your business tick. Um, and for me, it's really about the CFO taking the forefront, with that bringing on the other functions, and then collectively defining the strategy of where do we need to, I want to say, look at our roadblocks within our business, and then build out the strategy and the execution behind it.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for sharing all your questions in our chat box. In our chat box. I'm gonna go through some of them. I think some of them you've touched on them a little bit, but I think just yeah, for me to just read them out anyways, and then we can just yeah summarize it nicely. But I think you did touch on some of them. So we've got a question here that says. Can AI Sage Tech interface with other ERP systems like SAP? That's a question from Wayne.
Okay, so I want to answer it in two parts. So the AI that we're developing obviously sits within our products. We also embarked on a journey to create a Sage network, and that Sage network is for I want to say Sage customers using our software, etc. Um, yes, are there pieces maybe of technology, depending on what it is? I'm just thinking out loud, Wayne, on the reporting capabilities, etc. Yes, those technologies maybe is not Sage technologies, but what we refer to as third-party technologies, and those could be plugging in to a product like SAP. I think if you live in that world, you know exactly how important, I want to say, predictive analytics and reporting is. So yes, there could be third-party products that's not owned by Sage that you can plug into that. I love to see everyone says yes. 96% said yes, they agree. And like I said earlier on, don't if you haven't started embarking the journey, don't think it's too late. Start tomorrow.
Hmm. It's never too late. Again, just to reiterate to our audience today, Gerard will share his presentation. So yeah, so please do not fret when it comes to that. The next question, you did answer this, but I think maybe they're looking more for a timeline.
Mm.
How quickly will a finance professional be irrelevant if they delay adopting AI and automation? 5 or 5/10 years? How
I
many
said
years?
it.
How many years do they
My
have?
view on it. Yeah, my view on it is I don't think finance professionals is going to be irrelevant. Um, People not adopting will become irrelevant in future. If you ask me 5, 10 years, I'm going to say within the next 5 to 10 years, taking a cautious view on it. But yeah, I mean, as successful leaders in your business, why do you evolve? You evolve because you keep on learning. So I don't really see adopting of technologies going to be difficult for finance leaders. I saw just quickly saw one, Jackie, if I may. There was a question around, is Sage Copilot and Microsoft Copilot, um, is it the same, or what exactly is it? So obviously, the Sage Copilot is built into the Sage products. Um, it's different to Microsoft Copilot. So I think maybe just to differentiate there, is it available on all versions of our products? No, but we do have a directive from our CEO Steve Hare that he does want to build it into all our products that we do have. So today, where is Sage Copilot available? It's available within Sage Intact. We're planning in bringing it into some of our other products later in the year, like for instance Sage X3, which is being used by manufacturing and distribution companies, and then also we're looking at bringing it into our Sage HR products as well. So not to quote me on those, but it's definitely part of our roadmap and growth for our products is to bring Sage Copilot.
Fantastic. And then we've got a question from the public service side from government departments. So, in public service, government departments, we have transversal legacy systems that are unable to interface/integrate to ERPs. In your view, how can we overcome this hurdle and ensure that the finance team is also developed in AI?
Yeah, so I think within public sector and government departments, obviously it's being run differently. Sometimes it's not possible because of the nature of those type of businesses to have a holistic integration view. I think if we step back, well, I'm excited about the question: how can we get finance team to to look at AI? Remember, AI is not necessarily just regarding on integrations, but it's also to look at predictive analytics, etc. And I think there it can play a very important role. Is to bring in that automation when it comes to reporting, etc. Yes, maybe you have a single source of data, just because that's the data that you're allowed to be exposed to. But then again, you can run those technologies on those data sets. Integrations, I don't want to necessarily just throw it back, but I think integrations, that business, the industry very well, is challenged maybe if there are, I want to say, blind spots on integrations, and see if you can become the glue to make sure that there are better integrations within those different departments.
Fantastic. So I am looking at the time, and just to reassure everyone, so I can see we've noted a couple of your questions. Please just be aware of the fact that all the questions will be shared with Gerard, so he will respond to these questions. So even if we don't do it here on the webinar, we definitely will come back to
Mm.
you and revert to you and answer you some of these questions. Okay. Then we've got a question from Zanele, who says, I appreciate the way Gerard explains this as a journey. I often feel CFOs are in a rush to implement a total solution instead of taking it in chunks. Find the low-hanging fruits and work on those. This will make change management easier. I needed this confirmation as we start the journey. So, yeah, so somebody you've reassured. Thank you for that, Zanele. Um, Maybe I can jump to Anton. Thank you for your question as well. So he says, I think, as highlighted by the poll, there is a lot of noise in the technology space, and everyone wants to sell their software as the silver bullet, often without deeply understanding the customer's requirements. Do you have a good practical advice for navigating this as a CFO?
Yeah, I think Anton, you touched on it. Phase one, do that. What do we want to achieve? What is our project outline? What is our project charter as a business very clearly? And then make sure, I believe when you embark on this journey, yes, 100% silver bullets, but ask to show how the silver bullets will be working. I'm not saying ask the developers or the software solutions firms that they need to develop everything for you. But if you think practically about when you go into a sales cycle, um, there's a pain point in your business. To just say, yes, we can solve the pain point, it's not good enough. Show us how that pain point can be solved. Challenge those providers to say, listen, show me this area. What's your solution? And PowerPoint, in my view, then falls out of the equation. They need to show within their software solutions how that is being overcome.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we did have a couple more questions at the end, and like I said, we will send those to Gerard. But we've come to the end of the webinar. It's amazing how time flies when you are having so much fun. Thank you so much, Gerard, really for just really sharing some of the key insights around this very important topic. And I think it really did touch on really important elements, a lot of key challenges that I think a lot of CFOs and finance professionals are dealing with. And I think we definitely are going to move from being reactive to be more revolutionary as finance professionals. And I think more than anything else, finance leaders, CFOs, are now going to be key enablers in terms of technological innovation and development within their businesses. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for giving so much value to our audience today, Gerard. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Fantastic. And thank you everyone for joining in. Please remember, we will share the recording with you. At the end of this, you're going to get an email, and Gerard is also going to be sharing his presentation with you from CFO South Africa. Signing out. Thank you so much. Bye.